divorce filed, U.S. to pull out of NATO military alliance anytime? Big Republican move in U.S. Cong as Trump hammers Western allies. Pure nonsense. U.S. guns for own military allies in West?
A Republican congressman has introduced a bill seeking to pull the United States out of NATO, calling the military alliance a Cold War relic. Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky unveiled the legislation on Tuesday, arguing that the bloc drains trillions of taxpayer dollars that could be better spent on American defense. Massie said, and I quote, "We should withdraw from NATO and use that money to defend our own country, not socialist countries. U.S. participation has cost taxpayers trillions of dollars and continues to risk U.S. involvement in foreign wars. America should not be the world's security blanket, especially when wealthy countries refuse to pay for their own defense." The proposed bill would require the U.S. government to formally notify NATO of its intention to leave and halt American contributions to the alliance's shared budgets. This move echoes a similar effort earlier this year by Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah, who argued that NATO membership no longer serves America's strategic needs, although his legislation is stalled in committee. U.S. President Donald Trump and some Republican allies have long criticized NATO, claiming the United States pays far more than its fair share, while European members lag in defense spending. Trump previously warned the U.S. might not defend delinquent NATO members in the event of an attack, increasing pressure on the alliance to raise defense budgets. In response, NATO members agreed this year to gradually increase spending to 5% of GDP, significantly higher than the previous 2% guideline, while portraying Russia as a growing threat in Europe. Moscow has dismissed these claims, labeling them nonsense, and accusing NATO of engaging in rampant militarization. The legislation faces long odds in Congress, where bipartisan support for NATO remains strong despite these recurring challenges from some Republican lawmakers.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was conspicuously absent from urgent NATO talks in Brussels on Wednesday. His absence marks the first time since 1999 that a U.S. Secretary of State skipped a NATO government meeting. Instead, Rubio has focused on Latin America, particularly Venezuela, prioritizing regional security over Europe. Rubio told reporters that threats closer to home take precedence over wars abroad.
If something's going to make America weaker or poorer or less safe, the president's going to be against it. And every single thing he has done in our foreign policy has been driven by the American people in mind.
Inside Washington, the move is interpreted as a strategic pivot and a subtle swipe at Trump's peace envoys. Sources say Rubio remains among the most pro-Ukraine voices, yet avoids direct conflict with Trump's envoys. Marco Rubio is known as a Miami Cuban exile hardliner, opposing negotiations with Maduro.
Secretary, I was told by the European representative on foreign policy, Callas, that it was discussed, the Venezuela military operations were discussed.
Not with me. No one raised it. I mean, no one in the meeting raised it.
Raised in meetings.
Not with me. They didn't raise it with me.
On his first overseas trip, Rubio pressed Panama and other countries to counter growing Chinese influence. Venezuela's role in regional security now dominates Rubio's White House presence and decision-making influence. This as Congress is scrutinizing the legal basis for recent U.S. boat strikes against suspected drug smugglers. Earlier, White House confirmed Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth's nod to naval forces to leave no survivors during operations. Recently, U.S. Admiral Frank Bradley briefed members of Congress on the Trump administration's strikes on Venezuelan boats. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on December 2nd that the United States has only just begun targeting alleged drug trafficking boats.
As I've said, and I'll say again, we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people. And Joe Biden tried to approach it with kid gloves. And allowed them to come across the border, cartels take over community, 20 million people, hundreds of thousands of Americans poisoned. And President Trump said, no, we're taking the gloves off. We're taking the fight to these designated terror organizations, and it's exactly what we're doing. So we're stopping the drugs, we're striking the boats, we're defeating narco-terrorists.
Amid legal questions and regional tensions, Rubio's role underscores America's focus on Latin security issues. His recent focus includes U.S. military strikes on suspected Venezuelan drug smuggling vessels and pressure on Maduro. Trump reportedly discussed options for Venezuelan leader Maduro, including exile to a wealthy foreign country.
So to be clear, you support the decision to kill survivors after the
No, I support the decision to knock out the boats, and whoever's piloting those boats, most of them are gone, but whoever are piloting those boats, they're guilty of trying to kill people in our country. Yeah, please.
The administration cites Maduro's designation as a foreign terrorist to justify recent military action in the Caribbean. Despite criticism, the State Department maintains Rubio has attended dozens of NATO meetings previously, emphasizing continuity. As U.S. priorities pivot between Europe and Latin America, Rubio's influence highlights the complex dynamics shaping foreign policy today.